Okay, down to business. COVID has struck BCL, Blue Collar Logic. A week ago, I went up to Jason's place, and he had been tested about 2 weeks earlier, and I had not been around anybody much and had been feeling fine. I hadn't been tested in a long time, but I wasn't feeling like I was sick. I hadn't been exposed that I knew of. And so I went up there Sunday, and I wore my mask when I arrived and said hello to the family, wife and kid. And then Jason and I went into our little studio area where we worked together for the next 4 or 5 hours, and talked. And, as we do, we had some laughs and joked around a little bit and things like that. That was when I made that. That's when we made that video about Georgia on My Mind, which I was going to post a song about, and then I didn't ever get around to that. I was going to do my version of Georgia on My Mind. So I'll do that in the next week on my video, on my other channel, along with a song called Just Give Me One Good Year, which I think it's a beautiful song by a guy named Slade Cleaves, and I wanted to share that with you. So I'll do that in Georgia on My Mind and stick those on the other channel sometime this week. Just, look for a notification. So anyway, we're up there and we're working together and everything's fine. And we get the video done and we had a good time. And I left and said, good, put my mask back on, said goodbye to the family, and then drove home. And everything was fine. And then very, very late that night, early the next morning, early Monday morning, around 3 o'clock or something like that, Jason woke up and he knew something wasn't right. And he was running a fever. And so the next morning he went and checked it out, because he can't go to work. He has a regular job, but he can't go to work sick. And so looked into that. He tested positive. And so, of course, he was very worried about his family and worried about having infected me, although he didn't go on too much about worrying about me. We're not those kinds of guys. We're more likely to be busting each other's balls and joking than we are to be worrying about one another's health. But he has been going through it this week, and I have been up close exposed to it. We don't sit in each other's laps while we're working, but we don't avoid each other really either. And sometimes we get pretty passionate about what we're saying. Either we're laughing or we are, saying stuff that we can't believe that we've heard in the news and that sort of thing. So sometimes the talk gets a little bit loud. So they say that that's one of the ways you get exposed. So I knew that I'd been exposed. And so I've been keeping in touch with him closely over this last week. And he's gone through he says that the thing because he knocked off the fever pretty fast. And then I hope you can write to him, care of the Blue Collar Logic Facebook page. You can write to him on that and, express your well wishes or ask any particulars of him. That's a way to get in touch with him. So I don't want to speak for him, but according to my best recollection of the things he's told me was that, first he told me about the fever, but then later he said the body aches were there pretty much at the beginning too. And that was really what bothered him, because he knocked out the fever pretty fast. But then it came back once. Now, I had been through a thing like this a few months ago, and I went through that same cycle. I went through, I got a fever really, that I really knew was a serious fever. And then it went away, and then it came back. And all of that happened in the course of about 24 hours or maybe 36 hours. I never got any body aches, but he did. He got some serious body aches. What I had was apparently some kind of flu, because I went and got tested and they said I didn't have the coves. But Jason does have the coves. And so, and I asked him if he was having the thing with taste and smell. And he wasn't at the time I asked him. And then he wrote a couple, next day and said, yeah, it's weird. You can't taste or smell anything. It's very strange. Although he says you can still tell if something is salty or sweet. But in terms of judging its flavor, nah, forget it. So I don't know if that's passed. Let me just get a sip of this coffee. Heifer? What? be at that in a minute. So I'll keep you guys posted, and I'll put something on the community page, or ask Jason to do that, and let you guys, bring you guys up to speed. So I've been waiting. I'm supposed to quarantine myself extremely for 10 days at least, because they say that if the coming on period when you've been exposed, Jason could not have gotten it from me, because he would not possibly have had symptoms the following, 12 hours after I left there. He wouldn't have had, that's too soon. So he got it, he picked it up somewhere else, but I'm exposed. And so the situation is I have to wait 10 to 14 days before I'm in normal kinds of activity again. Of course, normal kinds of activity is completely quarantined anyway. So it's not like it's changing my life all that much. It's just I had the few people that I was able to hang around with, I now can't. So I am hanging out, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But so far, so good. I feel terrific. In fact, I went hiking with a friend. Was that yesterday? No, it was the day before. And I actually found myself spontaneously running up the trail at one point. I felt so good. So I know I was just having a very energetic day, and it felt really good. And so it felt really good to move. So, I mean, my joints feel great. No situation going on at all with me. So I think either I actually had some light version of COVID early on that wasn't caught in the test, and I have some immunity, or just got lucky. I tend to have a really good immune system anyway. So there's that. That's the main thing I wanted to tell you guys about. The next thing is about our fundraiser, which is now just about complete. Let me just see if I can pop up the share screen on this. Do I have it here anywhere open? Oh, gosh. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can get this open. Oh, I had it earlier, and now I've screwed it up. Let me just pause for a second. Okay, now I think I can share the screen. All right, so this is where we are at the fundraiser. We started out with a $5,000 goal and blew past that pretty quickly. I switched it to 10,000. We blew past that pretty fast. And that all happened within about 30 hours. I think we hit the 10 grand at somewhere around the 28-hour mark, if my comment here on the page is accurate. Then I raised the bar to 15,000. We have exceeded that. So now we're going for 20,000. And that means that somewhere in the developing world, 40 families will receive, if we do hit 20,000, which we will, because if we don't, I will make up that difference myself and round it out. So that's 40 families in the developing world who live on $1 a day or so and have very limited sources of protein will have a milking cow to take care of and love and breed on occasion, and milk every morning to get 6 or 7 gallons of fresh protein-packed milk. I'm going to get rid of this. Thank you guys very, very much for the kindness and generosity you showed with this. It's the most I've ever gained. One of my other best years, not gained myself, but the most I've ever raised. They sent me this cup another year because of we won the fundraising. We were the top fundraiser that year. And I think probably we'll be the top fundraiser this year. If not, we'll take another run at it next year. But I got the cup as a sort of a pat on the back for that. This was my champion's chalice that year. And of course, I am only one person, and it is all of y'all that make that happen. What else did I want to say? So if anybody wants to go do that, I will leave the link below if you want to drop off $10, $15. The matching fund is over. It ran out on the 31st. So one of the reasons we've got to 20,000 is because of that big matching fund that we got. Some rich dude or whatever, a corporation or whatever, is matching all our things this year. Sometimes we get a matching fund. Sometimes we don't. Just depends. I did a very, very long rant the other day. It wasn't really a rant. It was just a stream of consciousness talk, as I sometimes do. You know, I start talking and the coffee kicks in and I just go on way too long. I did that and I was trying to edit it down. And this was New Year's Eve morning. It started out just me wishing you all a happy New Year's. And then as I was editing it down, I realized I really have to dig into these ideas a lot more. I was saying a lot of things. I thought these deserve for me to really write them up properly, the ideas that I was coming up with that day. And the stuff that really had been rattling around in my mind for several weeks. And I just sort of pulled the plug that morning and it all started pouring out. So I decided not to post that. And I wrote an essay that day called American Renewal, Part 1. And I wrote the second part the next day, New Year's Day. And I figured this will be a 3 or 4 part series talking about, how we, as citizens and concerned people of values, what we do in these coming years, and how we can somehow turn the volume down on this Twitter war and this this tit for tat chop fight. We used to call it chops when we were kids. I think they call it a sick burn these days, where you're just really my point, and people are making points on each other so much that it's a terrible thing. But I've written this in long form, and these will be essays in the traditional way that I make them. I'm going to have to make them here because Jason will be out of commission for a while, and I can't leave the house for another few days or a week or so. So that'll be happening this week. I am also moving in the direction of doing some music videos and things like that. Not music videos for songs, but videos that have like scenery and things like that, and music underneath. So I'm bringing myself up to speed about making some music here. So I've bought a few things for myself. I got this camera. These are my Christmas presents to myself, sort of. I got this thing for my dash, and it works really well. I don't have any connection to this particular brand. It's just the one I stumble on. It's like $120 or something like that. And so far, so good. It's a really good camera, really super easy to use, real user friendly. And apparently they have a team here in the United States that speaks English that will take your calls, which is nice. I broke down and I bought myself the first tablet ever, because this is going to operate that. This is going to operate that little Spark amp that I mentioned in another video. And now I have the Spark amp, and I just took a picture of it this morning. So I'll put the picture in right here, and you can see that it's sitting nicely right by my bed. And I have usually that Telecaster you see in the picture. Sorry, it's a dark picture. I wanted it to seem kind of nighttime and moody. And that Telecaster lives right by the side of my bed there most times. And so I can grab it in the middle, whenever I'm watching a movie or something like that, watching some Netflix or something like that. I can lay that thing across my belly, and it's got belly carves on it and an arm carve. It's very, very comfortable. And now I've got a beautiful little amplifier in there to play with me. And it's also a Bluetooth speaker. So I can jam along with some bands that I love, and some music that I really like, I can put on Spotify and just jam along to whatever comes on, and it comes out the same speaker. And I can adjust the volume so that I get the two things just perfectly in. So it sounds like I'm in the band, except I'm the guy in the band that doesn't play that well and won't stop just noodling over everything. But it's better than having to get up and go stand by this amplifier. Over here, I have an amp that's over here. You can't see it. It's behind the acoustic guitar. And it's a great amp. That's a Boss Katana. But the one that's now in the bedroom is the Positive Grid Spark. But you need an app to work it. So I had to break down and buy myself a tablet. And now I'm trying to learn how to use the tablet. I'm trying to get that app to work, and it's a bunch of stuff. Also, if I'm going to be going out and traveling a lot, I need to get a drone. You got to have a drone if you're going to be making those kinds of things. Because I'm picturing a type of video that would be, some dash cam stuff going through mountains and beautiful fields and things like that. And maybe then something a little that I've been thinking about, a written piece where you wouldn't see my face, you'd hear me talking. But also there'd be a little bit of music. And I thought I'll make the music myself, because I'm a musician and I need to learn how to record. And rather than just getting all these tracks that you've heard before, or try to find music, you know, license free or whatever. Sometimes it'll be that, but sometimes I'll make it myself. And what I did was I also went and I got this. This, you're seeing the inside of my art program now. So I bought this bass guitar. It hasn't arrived yet. It is, as far as I know, leaving out of Marshall, Illinois this morning. It's coming from New Hampshire, where the company Rondo Music that makes these SX guitars ships out of. So it's on the way across the country, and I'll explain more to you about this later, but this is sort of based on the Jaguar bass of Leo Fender's designed way back in the day. And it has the P bass pickup system up here, and it's got half of the jazz bass system. The jazz bass has two of these style of pickups, one here and one over where these P bass pickups are sitting. So it's kind of a cross between the two classic Fender sounds. And I just fell for the surf green, and and with that beautiful red tortoise pickguard. Yeah. So that's on the way. It's in transit, and it's not a high dollar bass, because I don't know if I'm going to warm to bass playing. I've been taking bass lessons all week. Great channel that I found called Bass Buzz, performed by a guy named Josh. There's really entertaining videos and super informative, and it's geared toward new bass players. So I want to learn to lay down some bass tracks, and you can get all these little online drum tracks. You know, you can get all kinds of drum tracks. You can make up a little bit of so that's going on a little bit in the background, and it's not a real drummer, so you don't want it up too high in the mix. Then lay down a little bass line, then some guitar chords, maybe a little bit of tremolo, a little reverb, you know, and then solo here and there, you know, and that will be the stuff that you'll hear way in the background. So make my own music. I'm trying to continue growing. I'm trying to continue growing, and everything isn't politics. Everything isn't yelling at each other about the way the world's going. And we have to engage in those other things that we do, that where our talents take us and where our joy takes us. And that's going to be a lot of that on my other channel. So there's that. And anybody that has some information about how to fly a drone, or has been there and knows what it's about, what to avoid, you know, don't buy one that's too cheap. You know, here's one that really is very, very stable after going through some other drone misadventures. Please feel free to share that with me, because I haven't got the slightest idea what I'm going to do when I finally get around to trying to fly a drone. But if you're going to be out there in the countryside, you got to have some drone footage. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I guess the thing that's happening this week is the two things are happening this week. On Tuesday in Georgia is the runoff election. And this is the biggest thing right now that is possible. This is bigger than the presidency, because this is both houses of Congress potentially being run by the California mafia that I've mentioned to you before. And I've talked to you that both Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi come out of this group of people based in San Francisco. That's why I call them the San Francisco Mafia. And you've seen my video about the San Francisco Mafia, maybe. And if not, check it out. It's a few months ago. You'll find it. That's my time limit. But if the House is controlled by Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris is the tie-breaking vote in the Senate, well, then both houses of Congress are controlled by the Democrats, and the White House, as we have every reason to sadly admit to ourselves, is likely to, at least for a while, be controlled by them as well. So that's all the chips. That's all the chips right now is going on in Georgia. And if you are in Georgia, or if you know anybody who is in Georgia who is making any noises like this, why should I vote? It's a crooked system. They stole the presidential vote. They'll just steal my... Anybody's making those noises, tell them to get their butts out and vote. And then they can drive up to the rally, which I think is the following day, but not until you vote. The whole country is counting on you to not sulk, to not be pissed off, and to not stay home. You can sulk and be pissed off. I think we're all doing a little sulking and a little bit being pissed off all over the country, but we're counting on you to hold the line with these 2 Senate seats. And if you're not willing to do that, don't introduce yourself to me in public somewhere, because I will give you a piece of my mind. Does that sound too threatening? Somehow I'm having trouble imagining the Georgia boy that's going to be terribly intimidated by the threats from a California dude. But anyway, get out there and vote. All right. This is the thing. All right. So love you guys. And I got 2 things coming up this week. I'm going to do those. I've got 2 essays that I wrote, and I'm going to be turning into videos. So tough times, but also a new year. And I'm inclined to go optimistically into every new year if I can possibly muster it. And there's a lot to life other than the news cycle and what's going on in politics, tit for tat, day by day, tweet by tweet. There's a lot of things going on in life, and any balanced life, it includes a lot of things that don't even connect to politics at all. So, you know, if you've gotten swept down into the politics rabbit hole and in the last few years through all the engaging goings on, I mean, it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to be involved in, and it needs to be kept in the perspective where politics should be kept. Time to reconnect with those kids of yours, those friends of yours, those fishing buddies, those hunting buddies. Get back out into the garage and finish restoring that vehicle. Whatever it is that you do for your hobbies, where you get some peace of mind and some calmness of spirit, do all those things. And I will be doing those things myself out here, and turning the politics on and off as necessary. All right. It's been great being part of this. I will pass your good wishes along to Jason, or go over to the Blue Collar Logic page on Facebook and send him a message with your well wishing. I'm sure he'll like to hear from you. He's feeling pretty blown out. You know, he's a tough guy, and he's a hardworking guy. And if Jason can't get out of bed, I'm sure he's getting out of bed, but if he can't be productive, it's got to be hitting him pretty hard. All right. So I'll see you guys later. Hope everything's going well, and I'm out.